There are currently 99 total Vandal skins in Valorant, but your favorite probably doesn't rank as highly as you think. I'm sure most of you clicked on this video to see all the premium Vandals with effects, but the title does say I will rank all 99 from worst to best, so let me run through the lower half of this list really quick. So the 99th and worst Vandal in the game is Cavalier. Then we have Venturi, Aristocrat, Transition, Atlas Command, Sensation, Nitro, Depths, Minima, Lux, Prism 2, Smite, Team Ace, Sylvanas, Silkleaf, Superset, Monstrosity, System, .exe, Endeavor, Winter Wonderland, Wasteland, Samad, Guardrail, Stormmaw, Valorant Go Volume 2, Paceline, Bella Flare, Lycan's Bane, K-Tac, Hivemind, Bubble Pop, Wonder Stallion, Torque, Titan Mail, Horizon, Altitude, Ego, Sandswept, Bite Shift, Schema, Luna, Tethered Realms, Starlit Odyssey, Ruin, Sakura, Orion, No Limits, MK7 Liberty, Avalanche, Immortalized, Holomoku, Black Market, Crimson Beast, Nunca Olvidados, Heartstopper, Comet, and finally Keys to Elysium. Okay, so with that out of the way, there's a pretty clear line between even the best of those Battle Pass or filler skins, and then the premium Vandal skins. From here on out, this list is going to be a mix of my opinion, as well as some objective selling points to the skin. Say for example, it's missing things like animations or shooting sounds or variants, I'm going to be taking that into account. Having said that, in 41st place and my worst premium Vandal skin, I actually have Oni. Maybe for me, there's just too much of this preconceived notion of this being a phantom skin line, but to me, in-game, this skin feels too suppressed and muffled to be a Vandal skin. Most of my issues with this skin just come from it, in my opinion, being translated terribly from the Phantom equivalent. I don't have a problem with how it looks and the variants are fine, but it just sounds awful as a Vandal skin to me. For the record, I do like the Oni Phantom, but the Vandal to me is just straight up the worst with effects in the game. Just before I continue with the rest of the Vandals, I wanted to take a second to show you guys this keyboard from Melgeek. They were kind enough to send me their new Made 68 Ultra V2, and this low latency keyboard is basically built for Valorant. I've been using this keyboard for a while now, and I have to say it's extremely reliable and stable. Right now, they've got Night Purple and Frost White colorways. Personally, I went with the purple one because that's my favorite color, but these options feel like the perfect choice for Reyna and Jet mains. Having said that, looks only matter so much. The main reason this keyboard makes sense for Valorant is because it's made to feel fast. It has an 8000Hz polling rate, 0.125 millisecond latency, and rapid trigger. If you're not super familiar with keyboard specs, to put it simply, this is designed to be a fast response keyboard, where your inputs feel as quick as possible. This is super important in Valorant. Whether you're jiggle peeking, jump peeking, counter strafing, or even getting swung by someone, you never want your keyboard to feel slow or delayed. Another big feature is adjustable actuation from 0.01mm to 2.5mm. Basically, you can choose how far down a key needs to be pressed before it activates. This is one of my favorite features on this keyboard. It means important keys can be super sensitive. So once again, if you're playing Reyna or Jet, you can set your A key to activate with a really light press, letting you dash or dismiss away as fast as possible. Then for the keys you don't want to hit by accident, let's say the spacebar, you can do the opposite and make them less sensitive. Instead of every key feeling the exact same, you can tune the keyboard around how you actually play Valorant. This keyboard is used on the VCT tournament stage by pros like Zekin and Cortesia, so that's how you know it can perform at the highest level. Outside of the performance, the Ultra V2 has a solid aluminum body, making it feel sturdy and premium. There are internal layers designed to reduce that hollow keyboard sound and make typing feel softer and cleaner. Then with their Hive 2.0 system, you can quickly adjust lighting and performance settings. You can even sync up the keyboard to things like casting abilities or winning the game. So if you want a keyboard that looks great, feels fast, and is made with a competitive game like Valorant in mind, check out Melgeek's Made 68 Ultra V2 using my link in the description or pinned comment. Thanks again to Melgeek for the sponsor. Now moving on to the next Vandal on this list, which is going to be Glitch Pop. Having it all the way down in 40th place is probably another hot take already, but I've just never felt accurate using this skin. I reckon that's a combination of the sound as well as how the front of the gun moves so wildly as you shoot. I do like the theme here and it's got a decent design with some good variants, but overall it's definitely aged a little poorly to me. Especially when you start considering the skin is exclusive tier and 2175 Valorant points, it starts to pale in comparison to some of the newer skins. Another skin that's definitely fallen off as time has gone on is Origin, and I think most people will agree with this one being so low on this list. It does have a sick inspect animation, and I remember when this skin came out at the time, it was pretty impressive. It definitely is still one of the most unique inspects in the game, However, once you get past that one gimmick, the rest of the skin just isn't looking that good. The variants are all pretty rough, the design isn't that inspiring, and it doesn't feel that good to shoot with either. Moving on to a skin that does feel a bit better to shoot with, and that's actually going to be Neptune. I do love the theme of this skin, and this one doesn't feel that bad to use in game. Most of my issues come from this skin just being lackluster feature wise. It only has 2 variants for a start, which is already a step below most premium skins, but beyond that it's even missing a finisher. I honestly don't see any reason for Riot to not retroactively add the Phantom finisher to this skin. Like, is anyone actually going to complain about that? Anyway though, next in 37th place I've got Chronovoid. To put it bluntly, I think this is one of the ugliest Vandals in the game, with some terrible colorways too. I still did go back and forth a bit on where to put this skin because the shooting sound and overall feel isn't that bad. I do also like the animations with the ball and think that gives Chronovoid some unique qualities at least. Once again though, this skin coming in at 2,175 Valorant points overall just throws me off a bit and is part of the reason that this skin is so low. I can sort of see the justification for that price due to the animations, but personally this skin just isn't for me. I've actually got Miss Bloom up next, which is probably going to be another surprising one. I don't know if this is just another Oni situation where I can't get behind a Vandal version of an iconic Phantom skin, but something about the skin just feels terrible to use to me. I don't say that lightly either because I do think Miss Bloom visually is an incredibly well designed skin. I love how it looks and it has some beautiful variants too, just something about that shooting sound feels too dull to me and I avoid picking this one up where possible. That was a pretty recent release, but now I've got an older skin with the Ion Vandal. This one was also a 2.0 to a Phantom skin, but here it at least feels pretty clean to use in game. It's got a sleek design and an awesome shooting sound, and while those 2 attributes are standouts, I find it hard to rate anything else about this skin that highly. It does at least have some variants, unlike the Phantom counterpart, but having said that, some of the colors they went with just aren't it. It's also got no animations, which is a bit of a shame. More than anything, I think this skin is pretty dated at this point, so that's why it lands all the way down here. Coming in after that at 34th place, I have Mage Punk. I do really like the theme here, and this skin does have some pretty underrated variants in my opinion, but that's about where the positives end. I don't hate the shooting sounds, and yet it still feels a little clunky to use in game, and on top of that, it has 0 animations. Even the finisher is pretty underwhelming here, especially considering this is back when it wouldn't even change to match the variant you were using. Obviously, that's just how things used to be back then, but I figured it was still worth mentioning. And overall, I think most people would have Mage Punk pretty low ranked amongst the other Vandals. Okay, now let's talk about our first champion skin so far, which is going to be the 2023 Vandal. I don't know how controversial it is all the way down here, but let me run through at least some of the positives first. It definitely has one of the best finishes in the game. There isn't another one that I can think of that comes even close to evoking as much emotion. It also has a reasonably good design. The LED lights going across really stood out to me when the skin was first released. Beyond that though, the only thing this skin really has going for it is the champion's aura, which is a given. To me, this skin just feels really inaccurate, which is a bit of a common theme for the ones I'm rating this low, but on top of that, it has no variants. The only different animation is the inspect where you just hear the song. It's also expensive at 2,675 Valorant points. Obviously that is because it's meant to be this prestigious champion skin a tier above the rest, but to be honest on this one, I think they underdelivered and it falls short. Funnily enough, next up I have Imperium, which is another skin where the finisher was one of the highlights. This massive dragon is sick and it does change to match the variant of the gun you're using, and speaking of, all of the variants here are pretty solid. Where this skin starts to lose me is first of all the animations. Like we have an exclusive tier skin here, people are coughing up 20 bucks for this, we can't be using the default equip, inspect and reload, you gotta give us something. Once again, it also just feels like it shoots a little bit clunky to me, and I've noticed that's something I consistently feel about these more magical skin lines, whether it's this, Mist Bloom, Divergence or even Avoria Dreamwings. So let me know if that's something that you've noticed too, or if I'm alone on that one. Speaking of, I do actually have Divergence right after that in 31st place. Overall, my opinion on this skin is kind of similar to Imperium, although it is worth mentioning that Divergence has this cool effect where it will upgrade throughout the round as you get more kills. I do really like that feature and hope it's something that Riot revisit in future. What I hope they don't revisit is another exclusive tier skin with all default animations. I'm sure I sound like a broken record by now, but this skin doesn't sound great when it shoots to me, and I'm definitely finding that overall, that's the most important feature on any skin to me. How a Vandal shoots and feels in game is instrumental, so if it makes me feel inaccurate or clunky, I'm just not going to like using it. Moving on now to a skin that does actually feel really nice to use, and that's going to be Cryostasis. I do still believe this Vandal is underrated, and it has a pretty unique feature where frost slowly grows across the gun if you aren't shooting with it. The finisher is okay, I'd say, and the shooting sound is really nice. Where this skin loses out is on the fact that it's entirely missing both variants and animations. It is on the cheaper side for a Vandal skin at 1,775 Valorant points, but still, when you compare it to all of the other options, having literally nothing for two relatively important categories is doing it no favors. Now for probably the most controversial take I'll have today, and that is Prime ranked as the 29th best Vandal skin in Valorant. Before you bring out the pitchforks, let me just say this skin still feels super precise to use in game with an incredible shooting sound and great kill sounds too. The visual design is pretty clean, but overall, I think this skin is a product of its time. This was straight up the first premium skin released after Valorant officially launched. So it's not like I'm trying to complain that Prime should be better or anything, it's literally just been power crept by newer skins. It does have a nice reload animation, but that's basically it. There are no other effects as you move or use the skin, the finisher is dated, and don't even get me started on the variants, which are rough. So again, even though it does sound nice, I think Prime is simply just lacking too much in every other department. Up next, I have the Sentinels of Light Vandal, which was actually the second ever exclusive tier skin for this weapon. That definitely checks out to me because the finisher and animations are pretty underwhelming. Sure, the equip is sort of different, and the crystals moving around the barrel is a nice touch, but I just don't feel that inspired when I see or use this skin. I do hear people rating this one pretty high sometimes, but I just can't get behind that, and there are so many other skins that feel better to use than this. I will say it has some solid variants and a decent shooting sound, but overall I think that the Sentinels of Light Vandal is pretty forgettable. This next skin couldn't be further from forgettable. I've got the 2021 Champions Vandal in 27th place. I know there are some people that still swear by this skin, but I think they're too blinded by nostalgia. First of all, it's the only proper Vandal skin with no shooting sound. That wasn't bad enough, there are no variants, and the only animation is the slightly different inspect with the Champion song looped. Don't get me wrong, that song is a banger, but I just think this skin, similar to Prime, is a little bit dated now. It does still have an incredible finisher and one of the best kill sounds in the game, but this skin is simply missing too much for me to rate it that well, especially considering it was priced at 2,675 Valorant points. Okay, this one is probably going to sting putting it immediately after such a popular skin, but in 26th place I have Solar Stride. I don't think this skin is great by any means, but I do think it was overhated. For starters, it has some changes for both the inspect and the reload animation, which isn't something we often see for only a premium tier Vandal. I think the fire effects as you shoot and interact with the skin are also a standout, again for a Vandal on the cheaper side. Are the shooting sounds a little bit clunky? Sure. Is the finisher pretty basic? Absolutely. While this was definitely an underwhelming release for the Year of the Horse, which people had high expectations for, I do really like some of the variants that it came with, so I'm happy with its placement here. Unlike some of the other skins that I've covered before this one, it isn't really missing anything and honestly feels like a pretty well-rounded skin. In 25th place I have Amendir, which is one of the more divisive skins in the game I reckon. Some people will take one look at the design and just immediately write it off, while others will defend it as a sleeper or underrated pick. Personally, I'm somewhere in the middle. While I think it's one of the ugliest skins in the game, I can't deny that it has an incredible shooting sound and feels good to use. For a premium tier skin, it has a solid finisher too. Not only are the swords cool, but you get the environment changing with the sky, which isn't something you'd normally see for skins at this price point. There are still some obvious downsides here, like the weak reload animation and the ugly variants, but this skin isn't that bad. I've got another pretty unique skin up next with Splash X in 24th place. To be honest, I don't have many issues with how this skin was made, I just don't think it's for me. They did an excellent job making this not only look but sound like an actual water gun, and the animations really work for me here, even if this is the same reload animation as Prelude to Chaos. Then the inspect animation where you give it a quick pump is on theme, and the finisher is fun too. My only real issue with this skin is I just don't really want to use a plastic water gun in Valorant. I want something that feels powerful and impactful. I can see the appeal, and I'm glad they went down this route of making a more fun and playful skin, it's just not for me. Now I've got Zerofang up next, and to be honest, this is one of the few skins I'll come out and say I probably could have put even lower if anything. It's got no animations and the overall effects and the theme here are whatever, but I do think it has some nice colorways with the pink and blue. The only saving grace for this skin is the sound. The shooting sound is incredible here, and it does feel really precise and nice to use in game. Not much else to say about this one. To me, it's a pretty forgettable skin, and I'm pretty surprised on the odd occasion whenever I hear someone listed as one of their favorites. Speaking of favorites, in 22nd place I have the Forsaken Vandal. This used to be my go-to for the longest time. I had the gold variant equipped for ages. I'm trying not to look at it with rose-tinted glasses, and when you look objectively, okay, this skin has no animations, the finisher is extremely basic, and it only has two variants, even if they're both solid. Forsaken still feels and sounds incredible to me, which is why I rate it over most of the other premium tier Vandals in the game, but compared to the other three which we'll get to later, it's just missing too much. Just barely missing out on the top 20, I have the Singularity Vandal up next. For me, I think the biggest pitfall here is, as per usual, the skin feeling too inaccurate when I'm using it in game, mostly due to the shooting sound. There is a lot to like here, the theme is cool, I love the blue and gold variants, and to be honest, it even has some decent animations and effects on the skin as you move it around. Overall, I think the general sound design is one of the biggest weaknesses for this skin, but I can see why some people like it. Right, this is where the list starts getting pretty strong as far as I'm concerned. This one might surprise you, but I've got Cyrax in 20th place. It definitely isn't for everyone in terms of design, but I think the skin has enough going on that even if you don't love it personally, you can acknowledge the effort that went into it. For starters, it's got a pretty different shape, but another thing I love are the crystals and moving parts in the skin. There aren't many others that I can think of, or any really, which move around with you like this one. Then the shooting sound and variants are pretty good too. Overall, this is a solid skin. After that, we have the first ultra tier Vandal ever, Elderflame. I will admit I rarely find myself going back to the skin because I don't think it shoots that well, but I find it hard to deny how cool it is that they made a skin straight up out of a dragon. This was iconic when it came out, the animations on the equip and reload still hold up today, even if the inspec is lackluster. To put it simply, I think from a design and creativity standpoint, this skin is incredible, but from a gameplay perspective, it's just not quite top tier. Now, RGX has a pretty popular reputation, and I can get behind some of that. There's no denying how crisp this skin feels to use, with the incredible shooting and kill sounds. Then while the actual variants themselves are fairly basic colors, you do get that neat feature of being able to customize the actual highlight color by inspecting the weapon. The reason I can only put RGX so high personally is that it feels somewhat incomplete. That mostly boils down to the finisher being pretty underwhelming and it having no animations. Yeah, it has that kill counter, but I don't think that does anywhere near enough heavy lifting, and I even prefer Divergence in that regard, where the skin actually upgrades as you get kills. Up next is the Arcane Vandal, which I actually really like. I'm a big fan of the mechanical design here, but I can't tell how much of that comes from just being a fan of the show. Like if someone hasn't seen the show or doesn't care for it, how much will this skin really resonate with them? The inspect animation is a lot of fun here, and on top of that, the way the shooting sound pops is really satisfying to me. There are a few pitfalls here and there, like it has no variants and the finisher is so-so, but again, we're getting to the point now where the margins between these skins are getting thinner and thinner. This one will probably surprise you, but I've got the Hollow Meridian Vandal in 16th place. This skin got trashed on when it released, pretty similarly to Solar Stride, but I really don't think this one is that bad. In fact, I actually like it. The shooting sound feels laser-like, and not only that, it's also the exclusive feature where the kill sound changes depending on whether you get a body shot or a headshot kill. I think that alone makes this a really satisfying skin to use, and then the finisher is one of the better ones in the game in my opinion. Not only does it change a lot of the environment around you and look beautiful, but it's even interactive. It does reuse Prime's rooted animation, but I don't really view that as a downside, and instead I'd cite things like the visual design and variants as weaknesses for this skin. If this just looked a little bit better, I think this could easily be a top 10 Vandal, but for now it falls short and ends up here. Up next is a skin that I don't personally use often, but I can still appreciate what went into it. That skin in 15th place is going to be Ivori Dreamwings. Like I mentioned earlier, to me this skin feels similar to ones like Mistbloom or Imperium, and the shooting sound is almost too rounded. I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but if you've heard of the Booba Kiki effect, it reminds me of that. Some skins sound really sharp, whereas others are like muffled or soft, and I find myself consistently preferring those sharper, more impactful sounding Vandals compared to all these other ones which just don't feel as good to me. Tangent aside, I do think this is a well-designed skin. It looks great and has solid variants, the finisher is amazing, and the animations or effects with the little mascot are super cute. Overall, this skin isn't personally for me, but I respect the vision. Moving on now to 14th place, where I have the Dolmir's Revenge Vandal. I still think this is the best inspect animation we currently have in Valorant. It incorporates that color changing feature from RGX in a jaw-dropping way. I also love the visual design of this skin. Even if it's just made up of rocks and crystals, it looks sick. All the variants hit for me here honestly. I think one of the only downsides is the finisher, which feels underwhelming. Otherwise, the shooting sounds, again, like I keep saying, just isn't quite sharp enough, but this is still a really good skin. Overdrive is a skin that I've been touting as underrated since day one. It's got a super strong shooting sound and a satisfying kill sound in game. Then the visual design and theme I really like with the charging up and the lightning, and then the variants are all solid as well. The only thing that this skin is missing is literally any animations, and that's the only thing stopping this from being one of the best Vandal skins in the entire game. Personally, I value sound over animations, so I might opt to use this skin over say like Araxis or Phase Guard. When I'm trying to rank these skins just a little more objectively, I just don't think it can be better than those when it's missing so much. After that, I've actually got a pretty recent release with the Blackthorn Vandal in 12th place. While the actual design might not be for everyone, I think this skin otherwise has a lot going for it. First things first, this is one of the best finishes in the game. The rose itself and the theme is gorgeous. Then not only is it interactive, but there's even an Easter egg where there's a trail of petals following whoever got that final kill. The skin also has some really clean animations with the rose and wood emitting this ominous wither effect. Where the skin falls a tiny bit short for me personally is a little bit on the variance and then the shooting sounds too. It's not terrible, it's just a little bit papery. I honestly think that's how the skin should sound, to be honest, like it's on theme, just not perfect for me. Up next, I've got what I think is one of the best sounding and feeling skins in the game, Guy's Vengeance. The standout here is obviously the shooting sound and the kill sound, but I even love the little ambient noises when you're doing simpler things like equipping or inspecting this weapon. Then even the finisher is one of the best for a premium tier skin, and all the variants are great. With all that being said, you're probably wondering if this skin is so good, how is it not in the top 10? And that's because it's missing both animations and effects. Unlike most other skins above it, there just isn't enough extra happening here for me. That might not be a bad thing for you, and I do think Guy's is one of the cleanest Vandals in the game, but I'll explain why some of the others are above it when I get there. For example, directly above that and starting off the top 10, I've got Reaver. This skin is iconic and for all the right reasons. It's got a timeless design, the variants are all excellent, then the shooting and kill sounds are just perfect, it just feels incredible to use. Similar to Guy's, I think one of the weaknesses here is that the skin still feels relatively simple. There aren't many extra sound effects or shadowy visuals on the skin, which to me would have made it better. In fact, the only reason this is above Guy's Vengeance for me is because of the reload animation. It isn't even anything crazy, but it is unique, and for that reason it gets points in the animation category that a lot of other premium tier skins simply miss out on. Neither of those are actually my highest rated premium tier skin though. Surprisingly, that honor actually goes to Valiant Hero. My favorite thing about this skin is probably how complete it is. Because if I'm being honest, the shooting sound is a tiny bit weak for my liking, and then the finisher is only decent, but literally everything else is there. I adore the theme and how it feels like the whole skin is truly built around the staff. The rest of the sound design is perfect, and all the variants are really good. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing actually bad or missing from this skin to talk about, and I think it's really slept on overall. In 8th place, I have the Champions 2025 Vandal, which to me is everything a champion skin should be. The golden design is a staple for this skin line, but the extra little details to me are where it goes above and beyond. This Vandal feels alive with all the little effects and moving parts, and I especially like this counter which used to count down the days of the 2025 Grand Final. Beyond that, the Champion's aura having a separate mode for shortly after getting a kill was a really nice touch, and I think this skin feels so good to use because it's like it's rewarding you for playing well by transforming. Is the finisher slightly worse than the other two champion skins? Sure, but even then I think the interactiveness of being able to turn the world gold is sick. Ultimately, the only reason this skin doesn't rank a little bit higher for me is because of the price and the lack of variants. Moving on to a pretty beloved skin, I've got Araxis in 7th place. This Vandal has some standout animations, especially when you factor in the plates that raise up and again make this skin feel alive. Beyond that, the variants are hard to hate even if they're simple. Like you have full white, full black and full purple. Just with these three you probably have everyone covered. I'm sure you watching this video really like one of those three options. I'd also say Araxis has a pretty unique finisher. It's not as flashy as some of the others, sure, but it does have that unique detail of that tractor beam effect appearing on all of the bodies that were killed with an Araxis skin during that round. For me personally, Araxis just barely misses out on the top 5 because it doesn't feel quite as nice to use. I do like the shooting sound on this skin, but all the remaining skins I simply like more. Now up next, EXO was a little controversial when it came out due to the price point and the upcharge. Now that the dust has settled though, I think we can all agree it is a super clean skin. The design I love with that futuristic glow, and the finisher I think honestly gets slept on. Like normally when people think of EXO, they'll either just think of how good it sounds to shoot or how it's got no animations for such an expensive skin, but this finisher is super cool to me. Like I just alluded to though, the main reason this skin was controversial is because it was upcharged while not offering much in terms of animations. Like this skin is the same price as Kuronami while having a default reload animation and a reused equip. It just didn't seem to justify the same price point that Kuronami did. It might sound like I'm trashing on the 6th place skin here, but it is one of my favorites to use in game. I think it feels and sounds incredible, so that's why it lands all the way up here. Breaking into the top 5 now, and the first Vandal I've got here is Aura by One Tap. This skin is super unique with the way you can switch entire variants by simply inspecting before the round starts. Not only that, but each variant has its own kill sound and shooting sound. One of the few gripes I have here is with this finisher. It's okay in itself and it's pretty cool that it shows off your stats, but I don't like how they choose which finisher you get. The song that plays depends on how many kills you got that round, whereas I think it'd be better if it's just the song that matches whatever variant you've got on. Regardless, this skin is still one of the best available, I reckon. It's got flashy animations and it sounds pretty good too, so I'm happy with it sitting here. After that, Prelude to Chaos comes in at 4th place. My favorite part of the skin, and I think everyone's, is the amazing kill sounds. Even though this skin is coming up on 4 years old, I don't think they've made anything that comes even close to Prelude to Chaos in terms of the kill banner. Then the shooting sound is pretty strong too, and the animations are a standout with its own inspect animation and a unique reload, at least until Splash X came along. As much as I love this Vandal skin, it isn't quite perfect. The finisher, while cool, pales in comparison to some of the others, and the variants are a little bit rough for what's otherwise an incredible skin. 3rd place goes to Primordium, which I think is the best feeling Vandal in the game, and probably the one I currently find myself coming back to the most. It has the perfect shooting sound and the perfect kill sound. The finisher is sick because you can go stand in it to transform the world around you, and all the variants are super nice. I especially love the blue one. I'm glazing the skin so hard you're probably wondering how it's not in 1st place, and that's because it has no animations and I can't ignore that fact. This list is of course my opinion, but I also wanted to measure the skin somehow, and I simply couldn't put this skin first when the 2 above it are just way more well-rounded and have everything. The first of those 2 is going to be Phase Guard. This Vandal isn't super flashy with over-the-top effects, but there are a lot of little details which come together to make something incredible. For starters, there's no other skin in the game that feels like this. Between the different grips you can get and the canted ADS, even the unique animations make the skin feel truly tactical. The kill sound here is pretty insane as well. It was based upon recon, and the kill banner has a unique detail where it changes to match the agent that you just killed. I think the only thing about the skin that is a little bit weak to me is the finisher. Even then it's good, it's just a little bit weak. And then the variants, which similarly are all decent, but there are none that I adore. Finally, to no one's surprise, Kuronami lands in 1st place as the best Vandal skin in the game. Literally the only thing this skin is missing is a unique inspect animation, but even then it has some effects over the top of it and a nice piece of music. The reload and inspect animation are iconic at this point, and while it might sound silly now, the finisher was almost revolutionary when it came out, because you'd never been able to shoot something and interact with it like this with the finisher in Valorant. Beyond that, the shooting sounds and kill sounds are all immaculate. It doesn't have a bad colorway, like all the variants are beautiful, and the skin itself is just gorgeous. People will say that Kuronami is overrated sometimes, but I'd challenge them to tell me what skin is actually better than this one and why.